Hello and welcome back to my channel. Tonight I'm going to be reading Heartbeat, but instead of whispering I'm going to try soft speaking because whispering honestly hurts my throat a little bit. So I want to see if I can find an alternative for when I do videos where I have to speak a lot, like when I'm reading. I filmed this video yesterday, but the audio was out of sync with the video for some unknown reason. So here I am, reading it again, which is honestly a little frustrating, but we're here to relax. And your girl needs some chill, so let's get into it. I think we're up to chapter 6 now. There you go. At the hospital, Dan always goes in and says hi to Mum first. Actually, he wanted us to go in and say hello together, but the first and only time he asked me that, the night after I'd lain in bed, thinking of my mother, lying in the hospital, kept alive for the baby. His baby, I said. There isn't an us. There's you, and then there's me. But we're family. Where? I said. Go and see what you're here for, and then I'm going to see Mum. I'm here every bit as much as you are for your mother. No, restart that sentence. I'm here every bit as much for your mother as I am for the baby. I know. After all, if her body can't be kept alive long enough, your baby won't survive, will it? Emma, it's not. Then what is it? It's what your mother would want. I slapped him, right there in the hospital. Security was called, but Dan said nothing was wrong, that we were just struggling with our loss, and that he'd sit with me outside for a while. He did walk outside with me, and he actually put a hand on my arm and said, Emma, please, I don't think you're seeing. Don't touch me, I said. Don't try to sell me your story. Mum loved you, I know that. You can kick me out of the house, send me to live with Mum's parents, maybe boarding school, take your pick. I'd never do that. You're my family, do you know that? Don't you know I love you like you are my own? Go see her, I said, cutting off and making sure it was out of his reach. You should come too. I don't want to see her with you. Emma, he said and then sighed. So that's how I got to see Mum on my own. Dan goes in first while I sit in the waiting room outside the ICU, and then he goes and drinks some of the hospital's sludge coffee. I don't think he likes it, but then I don't care what Dan thinks or likes anymore. He's in there now, doing his thing, and I'm staring at the ceiling. I did homework for the first few days, more out of numbness than anything else, and then I realised it was easier to just sit and look at the ceiling like I do at home, to think about how she'd painted it, to think about her and not where I am. To not think about Mum tethered to a bed by machines and IVs and the lump in her belly. One of the volunteers comes in with the magazine card. The thing is a joke because the hospital never has any new magazines. They just replace the old issues with slightly less old issues. But then I suppose most people in here aren't really all that concerned with what's going on in the world. I know I'm not. Magazine cart squeaks as it comes over to the last table in the room, the one that's at the far end of the bank of chairs where I like to sit. Not that there are a lot of people in the waiting room today, or any day. The ICU is not a place where people come to stay for a long time, not usually anyway, but my mother is special. Tears come again and I blink. watch the ceiling water fall into little pieces as my throat gets tight. I don't want to see my mum like this, and I pinch the bridge of my nose hard. It makes my head hurt, but it stops the tears. Mum used to do it whenever she thought she might cry. She hated to cry, and I can remember how, on the day she married Dan, she sat there getting her hair done and pinching her nose over and over, so she wouldn't cry and mess up her makeup. I was part of the ceremony. Mum and I walked down the aisle together, and before Mum and Dan became husband and wife, Dan asked for my permission to be part of our family. He said, "I'm so happy to have found you and your mother, and I promise I'll always look out for you. I'll always want what you do. I'll always believe in you." Liar, I mutter and wipe my eyes. I look away from the ceiling and see Caleb Harrison staring at me. So that's the end of chapter 6. I am so excited. I'm also using my sister's chair in this video because it squeaks a lot less than mine does, but now I look really short compared to the microphone. It's fine. It's definitely him. Oh, sorry, start of chapter 7. It's definitely him. We aren't in any of the same classes, but he's in the lunch block Olivia and I share, and I've seen him getting food, shoving his perfectly wavy blonde hair out of his face as he waits to pay. "What did you just say?" he says, and if it wasn't for the snarl in his voice, plus the fact that he steals cars, and now apparently drives them into lakes as well, he'd be cute. More than cute, even. He's cute despite all of that, but we'll pretend she thinks he isn't. But he does sound angry, and under his hair, blonde curls falling all over his face, his eyes are narrowed and very pissed off looking. "Nothing," I mutter, and he grunts and turns away. I stare at his back, and only then start to wonder why he's here. And why does what I say matter to him? Does he really think I would be sitting here in the waiting room outside the ICU and somehow be thinking about him? I mean, really? Yes, everyone knows who he is, but it's not like he's the kind of guy I'd go for. And besides, what do I have to be afraid of from him anyway? From anyone? "Hey," I say, "can I have a women's one?" He turns back around. "What? A women's one magazine?" I say. And he really does think I was sitting here thinking about him, because he's glaring at me and plucking a magazine off the card like it's diseased. "What's your problem?" he says, tossing it to me. It lands on the floor by my feet. "If you have something you want to say to me, Emma," Dan says, coming into the room. "You can go in now." "Great," I say and get up, step on the magazine and push past Caleb Harrison like he isn't there. Mum is. She's the same as she's been since she was put in this room. She's still, so still, and I sit and look at her closed eyes and her slightly downturned mouth, at the tube going into it. Her skin is strange coloured, almost waxy looking, and her hand is warm and limp in mine. It wasn't much of a day, I tell her and look around. The unit Mum's in has huge open windows by every door. I don't know why, but I can see people in other rooms. Most of them are sitting like I am, hunched by a bedside. A few are weeping, a few are just staring, lost looking. I look away, look back at Mum. "I turned in my paper on the New Deal," I say, "and we've started a new book in English that I like a lot. Oh, and I got an A on my Algebra 2 quiz." I talk and talk, spinning a story of a day filled with academic success, filled with lies. Part of it is because I am looking at her, and I want her to think everything is okay, even though I know she can't hear me. Part of it is because part of me thinks that maybe she can, that despite everything the doctor said, she will somehow open her eyes and say, "Emma, I know something's wrong. I can hear it in your voice. Start talking, okay?" Yes, I want to talk about it so much. I love you and I miss you and I wish you were here, but not like this. I don't want you here like this, and I know I'm 17, but I don't want you to be gone. I want you to open your eyes and tell me everything is going to be okay. I want you to squeeze my hand and tell me something. Anything. I want to hear your voice, not the machines that beep all around us. Mum, I whisper and kiss her hand, pressing my cheek to it, eyes closed as I imagine. I feel movement, a slight shift in her, but I know it's not her. It's the baby. Why did you do it, Mum? I ask. Why did you try so hard for this when it was so hard on you? When the risks were so many? When you cried so much? When you ended up... When now you're here? I hear Dan's voice as he comes back into the ward. He always says hello to everyone, like he's so friendly. Like he's actually thinking about anything other than himself. I open my eyes and see a magazine cart in front of the door, and I see Caleb Harrison staring at me again. Hey there, Dan says as he comes into the room. I saw you earlier, right? Caleb nods, looking at him and then my mother. I see him stare at her stomach. Dan walks into the room. Lisa, Emma and I are both here now, and I thought we'd talk for a little while before we have to go. He pats Mum's stomach. I was thinking today we could talk about names. No, I say, and Dan looks at me. Caleb, still standing in the doorway, looks at me too, and Dan glances at him, then at me, and says, We don't need anything to read now, thanks. Caleb shrugs and moves on, the cart squeaking as he goes. You know him? Dan says. No, but it's not every day you see a girl sitting with her dead mother, is it? People would stare at that, don't you think? Emma, honey, your voice. She can't hear me. The baby can, though. And I don't want... I stand up so fast that I'm dizzy for a second. I don't want to hear anymore. I can't hear anymore. I don't feel good, I say. Can we go? I really was hoping we could talk about names. I'd like for you and I to... He sighs. Your little brother is in there, Emma. He's in there and he's fighting to stay alive. I walk out of the room then. I stop at the nurse's station and ask to use the phone. I hear Dan come out when he realizes I'm not coming back. I hang up the phone. Emma, he says, but I pretend I can't hear him and walk out. He follows me, of course. You're hurting your mother, he says, when we're waiting in the elevator. Waiting for the elevator, sorry. She wanted this baby. She'd want you to be part of this. She'd be so sad to see how you're acting. I stay silent. I stay silent all the way to the car, all the way to the house. I don't think of it as home anymore. You say what she wants, what she thinks, what she feels. I say when we get there. She can't do anything now, and it's all because of you and what you want. So don't tell me how she feels, because she can't feel. She's dead. She died trying to have your baby. And if you want to think about feelings and Mum, how do you think she feels about that? How do you think being dead makes her feel? Emma, Dan says, and then, Emma! But I'm out of the car and heading down the driveway, heading towards the car I know is waiting there. The lights turn on as I reach it, and I open the passenger door and get in. Thank you, I say, and Olivia nods, squeezing my hand before we drive off. My bookmark just fell. Okay, there we go. 14 minutes. I think we've got time for another chapter. So I did just read chapter 8 without telling you that it had started. My apologies. I'm eager to keep going, and I'm enjoying the soft speaking. If you are too, let me know. If not, I can continue to whisper. Happy to do whatever. Alright, so we're up to chapter 9. The phone at Olivia's house is blinking when we get in, but she ignores it, sits me down in her parents' gleaming steel kitchen, and puts a peanut butter sandwich in front of me. Just don't let me see you destroy it, she says, putting a bag of corn chips next to me and then goes over to the phone. I hear her talking while I'm opening the sandwich and putting corn chips on top of the peanut butter. I feel like that wouldn't be that bad. I kind of want to try it. Anyway. No, she called me from the hospital, but I said I'd come get her. Look, Dan, I just think she needs some decompression time, you know? I love Olivia, not just for talking to Dan for me, but for a million little things. Like she was okay that my mum loved peanut butter and corn chip sandwiches even before I was. I thought the idea was disgusting until I found myself wandering around the house 3 nights after she reached for toast and then broke. I was thinking about her, the things she did, like how she always had to put her wallet in her purse before she'd put anything else in, or how much she hated peas. I was remembering, and I was alone. Dan was sleeping peacefully, no doubt dreaming of his baby. I thought about those sandwiches. I made one the way she always did, first pressing the slices of bread and peanut butter together, and then taking them apart to put the corn chips on before smushing it back together, and it was so good. As I ate it for a moment, I swear I could almost see her. Picture her smiling at me. Sure, she'll call later, Olivia says. Okay, bye. I made that sound too happy. Okay, bye. There we go. She comes back to the table, one arm extended. I hand her the chips and smile as she heads toward the pantry, eyes averted from my sandwich. It's not that bad. I've seen those gel things you parents eat. True, she says, coming back to the table and sitting down. You can see the sandwich now since you're sitting here, you know. Yeah, I know. What happened? I tell her. Oh, she says when I'm done. Names are. He must really think the baby's gonna make it. I guess all he has to do is lie there and suck everything out of Mum that's pumped in until it can survive long enough to live in an incubator. Emma, Olivia says, picking up my plate and walking over to the shiny steel sink. You know the baby's not a bug or anything. It's your brother. Half. And it's... Mum is dead, and it's not. And I try not to see it, but sometimes it moves and Mum's... She's just laying there, you know. Her body is only there for the baby, and Dan chose that. He said he loved her, that he'd do anything for her. What kind of love is that, Olivia? Would you want someone to keep your dead body breathing with tubes and machines because they wanted something from you? I'm yelling by the end, and Olivia has come back to the table and puts her arms around me. I'm sorry, she says. My parents... Our family's not like it was for you and your mum. And the baby, it'll never even know her. That's so strange and awful. When Dan finally gets around to thinking about that, he'll probably just say, it's proof that science can work miracles and it's how Mum would have wanted it. By the time I'm done talking, I'm shaking so hard my teeth are chattering. I want to fix it for you, you know, Olivia says. You're so angry, Emma, and I don't know if it's with Dan or your mum. Dan. Definitely Dan. And the baby. Look, I do get that it didn't choose for Mum to die, but she did, you know. And the doctors say the embolism didn't happen because she was pregnant, but it's just... I swallow. There was that clot and everything else. She was so scared, you know, so scared. And now I see her every day and try not to wonder if she'll wake up, even though I know she can't, that she won't. Maybe you should talk to someone. Dan said that too. I say, what's a shrink going to tell me that I don't already know? My mother's dead and I miss her. I'm angry at Dan for keeping her body alive so the baby he wants so badly can maybe survive. Mum would hate being trapped like that. Mum would hate being trapped like she is, and I won't forgive him for it. I can't forgive the baby either. And maybe that makes me awful, but I don't care. You really are angry Like I'm worried about you, angry. I shrug and stare at the table again. Olivia knows me and she's right. I am angry. I am so angry I feel like it's all I am. At least I'm angry for a reason. At least I'm not running around stealing cars for fun like Caleb Harrison. I saw him at the hospital today. Twice, actually. Wow, so it is true. Oh my god, I have the itchiest nose. Wow, so it is true, Olivia says. What? I heard his parents got him some emergency hearing and he got assigned to community service for the thing with his dad's car, she says. You know, picking up trash and stuff. But I guess he's at the hospital instead. What did he say? Nothing, I say, thinking of his, what's your problem? And his stares. The second one was the worst. The way he was just looking at me and Mum, and how he must have seen me laying there. Sorry, I completely just lost my brain. The way he was just looking at me and Mum, and how he must have seen me lying there, resting my head on her hand. Nothing? You sure? How do you know what happened to him anyway? It's not like you'd have found out if anywhere near... I don't know why I can't read right now. This isn't good for a reading video. This chapter's got not that long to go. We'll be good. How do you know what happened to him anyway? It's not like you'd have found out by going anywhere near a computer, so that means you talked to someone, and that means... Yes, I saw Roger, she says and blushes. But it's not what you think. I was getting gas, and when I went to pay for it, he was inside getting a soda and we talked for a minute. Uh-huh, so you were getting gas. Yep. Even though you got it 2 days ago and you've only driven to school and back since. Alright, fine, she says, mock slapping my arm. I saw his car in the parking lot and I might have wanted to see him. I did, but it was no big deal, okay? How long did you talk to him? A while. I grin at her. She stares at me for a moment and then grins back. I know, we talked. Do you think he likes me? I really want him to like me. What's not to like? The fact that most people think I'm a freak because I don't use computers or any of that stuff. Olivia, we go to school with people who steal buses. And their father's car. Oh, and that guy who always wears the same brown shirt. You're not a freak. Well, not compared to Caleb Harrison, or Dennis and his shirt thing, she says. But neither of them have social lives, and I'd like one. You have one. You talk to people in your classes. You dragged me to parties after the horror fest that was Anthony. You went out with Pete last year. If you ever started using technology, you'd rule the school in a week. Nice try, she says and grins at me. Roger and I have nice hair, but what does that mean? It just lies. No, sorry. Roger said I have nice hair, but what does that mean? It just lies there. Olivia, you do have nice hair. It's flat. You'd like Caleb's hair, I say, and she blinks at me. What? It's wavy and stuff. Like how you're always saying you want yours to be. Thought you didn't talk to him. I didn't, but you noticed his hair. We were in the same room, Olivia. He was about 2 feet away from me. It's hard not to see him. He's cute, she says, and now I stare at her. No, not I think he's cute, she said. Scary druggies don't do it for me, but a lot of girls think he's hot. Not the ones in my classes. No, you all think guys like Anthony are hot. Caleb's got the whole quiet loner thing going. Plus he has the cheekbone, eye, hair trifecta. When I stare at her, she says, awesome face, great eyes, amazing hair, a trifecta. What are you learning in your classes? Not that. Oh, right. How's the new deal paper coming anyway? It's not. She looks at me and then says, for real? I shrug. I know you haven't been buried in books like usual, but I thought you'd... You wanted to go to one of those top 10 schools. I thought you and Anthony were neck and neck to see who could have the best ranking in SAT score and all like that. All that stuff. Why can I not read? Yeah, we were. Olivia frowns and starts to say something else, but her parents come in. They're both blonde, like she is, but that's pretty much where the similarity stops. They work in IT support, and their world, in fact, is computers. I have never seen one of them without something that isn't electronic in one hand. It reminds me of how Olivia and I started the whole hanging out on my roof thing. A few years ago, they gave her some sort of does everything and can organize everything gadget for her birthday, and she came over, climbed up the trellis on the side of our house, onto our roof, knocked on my window, and scared the crap out of me. And when I came out onto the roof, she cried and we talked, and then I threw her gift off the roof. Mum calmed Olivia's parents down, then calmed Olivia down, and then gave her a birthday gift from me and Emma in little bunny ears, and put foot rungs on the trellis so she could get up onto the roof easier. Since then, it was something we did once in a while for fun, but since Mum died, it's been the only way she comes to see me. Her mother closes the door while typing out a message on some impossibly tiny thing, never looking up. Her father, who entered first, is using a strange-looking square, holding it in one hand and touching it with a plastic stylus, frowning as images flicker in and out. This cube isn't maximizing its storage capability or its potential speed, he says. It feels more like a design idea than an actual product. Olivia rolls her eyes at me, gets up, and gets 2 energy drinks out of the fridge. Hi, Mum. Hi, Dad. How are you? Her dad says as her mother smooths a hand over Olivia's shoulder. You have a good day? Yeah, Olivia says, and her mum's device starts to beep. Have you eaten? Her mother says, and Olivia rolls her eyes again. Yes, you? Her mother nods, and Olivia looks at her dad, who flushes. I'm going to, he says, but the cube came in and I wanted to see. I'll eat later. Something without caffeine or the word energy in it. Her dad grins at her. Yes. And hey, we have a little more work to do, but then we're going to watch a movie. By yourselves, Olivia says, without anything electronic in hand? Will you be alright? You, Olivia's mother says, and kisses her cheek. Want to join us? She looks at me. How about you, Emma? You in for a movie? I shake my head. Olivia's parents drive her crazy and they aren't around that much, but they're here. Truly here, even if it's not the way Olivia wishes they were. And I'm like a kid with her face pressed against the window, all the things I want and can't have right in front of me. I spy a family. I miss Mum so much. I'm gonna go hang out with Emma, Olivia says. She can spend the night, yeah? Sure, Olivia's dad says. Is it okay with Dan? I nod. Do you need anything? Olivia's mum says, and I shake my head because what I need isn't something anyone can give me. She looks at Olivia, kisses the top of her head, and then leaves, turning to the beeping gadget in her hand. Her dad grabs a packet of crackers and walks out, eating them one-handed as he starts to look at the cube again. How? I guess you could have them tucked in your arm and not important. That's not important information. A thought for another time. Some people think Olivia's hatred of technology is an act, like she's pretending or whatever, but she really does hate it. It's not so much because of her parents, although I think that's part of it, as it's what she doesn't want her life to be. She thinks it's sad that people would rather talk without ever seeing each other. I just think life should be lived, she said. She said to me more than once. And how can all the talking with a keyboard ever be like actually talking to someone? It can't. People need each other. I don't know. I always said, I think it just makes life bigger. People are closer, actually. I'd rather have an actual talk with my mum instead of having her send me messages. She'd say, wouldn't you? Sometimes I'd say, and she'd say, okay, fine. But I get what she's saying now. Mum and I talk like everyone else does, in person and over the phone and in all the ways you can, but now that she's gone, I miss talking to her for real, hearing her. I could call her cell phone and hear her voicemail, but it wouldn't be her. I could send her an email and get back the "I'll be in soon" message she put up before she left work, and it wouldn't be her either. I would just hear and see electronic ghosts. And I already have a live one to face every day. I call Dan from Olivia's room. Hi, I say when he answers. I'm spending the night at Olivia's. I'll come home in the morning to get a ride to school. I don't know, Dan says. What about your homework? You left your bag in the car. Plus, we still haven't talked about what happened. There's nothing to say. You want a name, you pick it out. Emma, your mother would be so sad to hear you talk like this. She can't be sad though, can she? I say. She's dead. I'll see you in the morning. And then I hang up. He doesn't call back. I know he won't. I know that despite everything he says, he knows what he's done. That he saw Mum die and made his choice. He saw her die, and he still went ahead and decided that the baby was worth more than Mum and how scared she'd been about the pregnancy, about dying. And he didn't even ask me what I thought. Not about Mum, not about the baby, not once. He just decided the baby was worth everything. I get where she's coming from, and she's young, and she's grieving, but she's got to step into Dan's shoes and think about how hard her mum tried for this baby. Like, it's gotta suck major balls, but her mum wanted this baby more than anything. So you kind of gotta think, at what point does it stop Dan being selfish and turn into what her mum actually would have wanted? At this point, I don't think I'm making any sense. It got really weirdly hard for me to read towards the end there. I think just because I'm so tired and so stressed. And tomorrow's the last day before I leave for New York. And I'm not ready. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the soft-spokenness of it all, even though my reading did majorly fall apart towards the end there. Hopefully you were unconscious and didn't get to witness it. But yes, that will be it for tonight's video. I hope you got some tingles and that you are asleep. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. So, good night, sweet dreams, and I'll see you soon.